Shalom, everybody. It's Jippy Ramsey speaking, and we're going to go further into our Jubilee study. So I apologize it's a little bit too late. However, I hope a lot of people join. So because I'm just very excited to get this information out, man. It's just so awesome and beautiful at the same time to watch Scripture come to life, so to speak. It's got just so much more detail than what everybody's heard just from reading Genesis and Exodus and Leviticus. It goes way more into detail of all these subjects, and there is no contradiction. You can see how and why the Vatican would remove this scripture. It's just obvious, and why they would do this. Well, first off, because it's pro-Torah, and they didn't want us to know how to. Well, first off, if you go against the Torah, he says in Deuteronomy, I'll write you a blessing or a curse. A blessing if you keep my laws and my statutes. A curse if you don't. So, of course, they want us cursed. They don't want us to prosper, and they want us to just be peasants forever in existence. However, there's so many different religions, man-made doctrines that we can sit here and talk about forever, which we usually do on this channel to try to expose the light. And I just want to say this right quick that I've been doing a lot of thinking on this subject, and I will always continue to plant seeds, and I'll always continue to show the truth and talk about the truth. But something's been on my heart that I've been studying a little bit. It's going to take the Father's want to and will to, it's His will to draw your spirit. It's His will and His want to draw your spirit to the truth, to come to Him. To come through because Yahushua is the only way. The Messiah is the only way to Him. He's just that. He's the only way. So it's going to take. In Scripture, He says, that only the people that come to Him is the people that's drawn to Him from the Father's Spirit. So we could sit there and rub the truth in people's face till we're blue in the face. We can take the Bible and literally beat it over their head, but they're not going to get it because they don't want to get it. And that's what I'm starting to learn because, I got kind of discouraged, and I still do get discouraged when I look at these videos and not many people are paying attention. Not many people are watching these videos and these streams and participating, but they'll watch. There's millions of subscribers on these stupid channels are just meaningless and they're garbage, and they're just wasting your life. However, I don't understand why people do not want to know the truth. I'll never understand that. But that's just something I deal with. So, I got kind of discouraged when I realized, man, nobody's paying attention, man. People, you walk outside and everybody's a zombie. And you got to studying a little bit and talked it over with a few brothers, and man, it takes the Father's Spirit to draw them to repentance, like I was saying earlier. Also, I was seeing a fellow YouTube channel who's been around for a long time. He doesn't talk about the Torah, of course. He's not Torah observant or nothing like that. And he's off on a lot of doctrines. He's mainstream Christianity at the best, which is that's pretty bad if you ask me. So, but anyways, I know who he is. I've seen his channel for a long time, and the reason I know about him is because he used to make truth. He used to make videos about the music industry and stuff like that, and I thought it was interesting. And I used to watch that when I was first waking up, but because that's how I woke up. I woke up to, the deception of the music industry. I was brainwashed at one time, man, by music. And I really was. It hit me hard. But anyways, then I went down the whole rabbit hole and finally found, the truth about there's a higher power and all that stuff. But uh, but anyways, he was sitting there crying and all this nonsense about uh, uh, him being with women and sinning and doing drugs and stuff like that, just pouring his heart out on camera. And I was like, that's good for him to do that. That's a brave move to show everybody, that he's got problems. But everybody's fallen short of the glory. That's Romans chapter 3, verse 23, I think. All fallen short of the glory. We're all, John 1, it says, or is it First John? It says, First John, that, whoever say you have no sin, the truth's not in him. We have all sinned. We don't continue on in sin. We're going to read Jubilees, brother. We're getting right into Jubilees, Pete, brother Pete. Good to see you, Jesse and Pete. And I'm almost done. Just let me run my mouth for a minute. We've all fallen short of the glory. So that's why the law is so perfect, because it shows us what we've fallen short at. It's a measuring stick of righteousness, and that's what we go by. We die to our old ways, and we start living his way, the way he shows us to live, the way he says to be holy, for I am holy. So do that. So try to do that. But anyways, we're going to get into Jubilees, and here we go. And I can't remember where I left off yesterday, but I think I read 5 chapters yesterday, so. We're just going to start at chapter 5 because I'm pretty sure that's where I left off at. Okay. And it comes to pass when, hang on, let me enlarge this. Yeah, Pete, you're going to have to let me download that PDF copy or something, because this is just so hard to use. Okay. And it come to pass when the children of men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the angels of Elohim saw them on a certain year of this jubilee. And we just studied about jubilees in Leviticus earlier today. So you know what a jubilee is. You should, anyways, if you're following this channel. That they were beautiful to look upon, and they took themselves wives of all whom they chose. We're talking about the fallen angels. And they bare, of the watchers, and they bare unto them sons, and they were giants. And lawlessness increased on the earth, and all flesh corrupted its way, alike men and cattle and beasts and birds and everything that walks on the earth. All of them corrupted their ways and their orders. And they began to devour each other, and lawlessness increased on the earth in every imagination of thoughts of all men. So we're seeing how the world's being corrupted, and it's getting more and more lawless and evil. The imagination of all men, he says, was thus evil continually, and Elohim looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, and all flesh had corrupted its orders, and all that were upon the earth had wrought all manner of evil before his eyes. And he said that he would destroy man and all flesh upon the face of the earth, which he had created. But Noah had found favor before the eyes of Yahuwah, and against the angels whom he had sent upon the earth, he was exceedingly wroth, and he gave commandment to root them out of their dominion. And he bade us to bind them in the depths of the earth, and behold, they are bound in the midst of them, and they are kept separate. And against their sons went forth a command from before his face, that they should be smitten with the sword and be removed. Can you see how this furthers way more detail than the regular Genesis account does? Be removed from under heaven. And he said, my spirit shall not always abide on man, for they also are flesh, and their days shall be 120 years. And he sent his sword into their midst, that each should slay his neighbor. And they began to slay each other till they all fell by the sword, and were destroyed from the earth. And their fathers were witnesses of their destruction. And after this they were bound in the depths of the earth forever, until the day of the great condemnation, which the book of Enoch, which we're going to read after this, gives us some more of account of what happened to these watchers and where they went. And it names them. It also gives them by name too. When judgment is executed on all those who have corrupted their ways and their works before Yahuwah, and he destroyed all from their places, and there was not left one of them whom he had judged, not according to all their wickedness, and he made for all his works a new and righteous nature, so that they should not sin in their whole nature forever, but should be all righteous, each in his kind always. And the judgment of all is ordained and written on the heavenly tablets in righteousness, even the judgment of all who depart from the path which is ordained for them to walk in. And if they walk not therein, judgment is written down for every creature and for every kind. And there is nothing in heaven or on earth, or in light and darkness, or in Sheol, or in the depth, or in the place of darkness, which is not judged. And all their judgments are ordained and written and engraved in regard to all he will judge, the great according to his greatness, and the small according to his smallness, and each according to his way. And he is not one who will regard the person of any, nor he is one who will receive gifts, if he says that he will execute judgment on each. If one gave everything that is on the earth, he will not regard the gifts or the person or of any, nor accept anything at his hands, for he is righteous judge. For he is a righteous judge, and of the children of Israel it has not been written and ordained, if they turn him into righteousness, he will forgive all their transgressions and pardon all their sins. It is written and ordained that. So I'm going to read that again right quick, and I hope you get something from that. You should. Nor accept anything at his hands, for he is a righteous judge. And of the children of Israel it has been written and ordained, if they turn to him in righteousness, he will forgive all their transgressions and pardon all their sins. What does that remind you of? Kind of sounds like what he tells us to do. And that's what you should have got out of that. It is written and ordained that he will show mercy to all who turn from all their guilt once each year, and has for all those who corrupted their ways and their thoughts before the flood. No man's person was accepted save that of Noah alone, for his person was accepted in behalf of his sons, whom Elohim saved from the waters of the flood on his account. For his heart was righteous in all his ways, according as it was commanded regarding him. And he had not departed from all that was ordained from him. And Yahuwah said that he would destroy everything which was upon the earth, both men and cattle, and beasts and fowls of the air, and that which moveth on the earth. And he commanded Noah to make him an ark, that he might save himself from the waters of the flood. And Noah made the ark in all respects as he commanded him. And the 27th jubilee of years in the 5th week. And you know, Christian viewers who might watch this, you might be like, well, that sounds like work-based salvation. Well, I recommend that you take a second look at what salvation truly even is. You know, it's deliverance from your sin. We've been redeemed for the punishment of what we should have had for our sin, because sin equals death. He gave us a second chance, and now he tells us to repent, be immersed for the remission of sins, and follow him. But anyways, that's a whole other subject. In the 5th year, on the new moon of its first month, and I know Brother Pete is in the chat right now screaming at me saying head of the month, which is new moon. So there you go, Pete. And he entered in the 6th year thereof, and in the 2nd month, on the new moon, head of the month of the 2nd month, till the 16th, and he entered, and all that we brought to him into the ark, and Yahuwah closed it from without on the 17th evening, and Yahuwah opened the 7 floodgates of heaven, and the mouths of the fountains of the great deep, 7 mouths in number. If you ever wondered where the water come from, there's your answer: the floodgates of heaven. And the fountains of the deep also sent up waters until the whole world was full of water, and the waters increased upon the earth. 15 cubits did the waters rise above all the high mountains, and the ark was lifted up above the earth. And it moved up upon the face of the waters, And the water prevailed on the face of the earth 5 months, 150 days. And the ark went and rested on the top of the Lubar, on the mountains of Ararat, and on the new moon, head of the month, in the 4th month of the fountains of the great deep were closed, and the floodgates of heaven were restrained. And on the head of the month of the 7th month, all the mouths of the abysses of the earth were open, and the water began to descend into the deep below. And on the new moon of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were seen. And on the new moon of the 31st month, the earth became visible, and the waters disappeared from above the earth in the 5th week in the 7th year, 1309 a.m. thereof. And on the 17th day in the 2nd month, the earth was dry. And on the 27th thereof, he opened the ark and sent forth from it beasts, cattle, birds, and every moving thing. And on the new moon of the 3rd month, he went forth from the ark and built an altar on the mountain. And he made an atonement for the earth, and took a kid and made an atonement by its blood. And by the way, guys, that means goat. That means a young lamb, goat. That's a kid, not literally a kid. Made atonement by its blood for all the guilt of the earth, for everything that had been on it had been destroyed, save those that were in the ark with Noah. And he placed the fat thereof on the altar, and he took the ox and the goat and the sheep and kids, and sought a turtle dove and the young of dove, and placed a burnt sacrifice on the altar, and poured thereon an offering mingled with oil, and sprinkled wine, and strewed frankincense over everything, and caused a goodly savor to arise acceptable before Yahuwah. And Yahuwah smelt the goodly savor, and he made a covenant with them that there should not be any more a flood to destroy the earth, that all the days of the earth, seed time and harvest, should never cease, cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night should not change their order, nor cease forever. And you increase ye and multiply upon the earth, and become many upon it, and be a blessing upon it. The fear of you and the dread of you I will inspire in everything that is on the earth and in the sea. And behold, I have given unto you all beasts and all winged things, everything that moves on the earth, and the fish in the waters, and all things for food, as the green herbs. I have given you all things to eat, but flesh, with the life thereof, with the blood you shall not eat. For the life of all flesh is in the blood, lest your blood of your lives be required. At the hand of every man, at the hand of every beast, I will require the blood of man. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, for the image of Elohim made he man. And you increase ye and multiply on the earth. And Noah and his sons swore that they would not eat any blood that was in any flesh, and he made a covenant before Yahuwah forever throughout all the generations of the earth. In this month. What about mouth? On this account he spake to thee that thou shouldest make a covenant with the children of Israel in this month upon the mountain with an oath, and that thou shouldst sprinkle blood upon them because of all the words of the covenant which Yahuwah made with them forever. And this testimony is written concerning you, that you should observe it continually, so that you should not eat of any blood of beasts or birds or cattle during all the days of the earth. And the man who eats the blood of the beasts or cattle or birds during all the days of the earth, he and his seed shall be rooted out of the land. And do thou command the children of Israel to eat no blood, so that their names and their seed may be before Yahuwah our Elohim continually. And for this law there is no limit of days, for it is forever. Don't eat blood, because he just said there's no limit of days, it's forever. They shall observe it throughout their generations, so that they may continue supplicating on your behalf with blood before the altar every day at the time of morning and evening. They shall seek forgiveness on your behalf perpetually before Yahuwah, that they may keep it and not be rooted out. And he gave to Noah and his sons a sign that there should not again be a flood on the earth. He set his bow in the cloud for a sign of the eternal covenant, that there should not again be a flood on the earth to destroy it in all the days of the earth. For this reason it is ordained and written on the heavenly tablets that they should celebrate the Feast of Weeks in this month once a year, to renew the covenant every year. And this whole festival was celebrated in heaven from the day of creation till the days of Noah, 26 jubilees of 5 weeks of years, 1309 to 1659 a.m. And Noah and his sons observed it for 7 jubilees and 1 week of years till the day of Noah's death. And from the day of Noah's death, his sons did away with it until the days of Abraham, and they ate blood. But Abraham observed it, and Isaac and Jacob and his children observed it up to thy days. And in the days of the children of Israel forgot it until you celebrated it anew on this mountain. And do thou command the children of Israel to observe this festival in their generations for a commandment unto them. 1 day in the year, in this month, they shall celebrate the festival, for it is the Feast of Weeks, Pentecost, Shavuot, which we still keep today, and the Feast of First Fruits. This feast is twofold and of a double nature, according to what it is written and engraven concerning it. Celebrate it, for I have written in the book of the first law, in which I have written for thee, that thou shouldest celebrate it in season, 1 day in the year. And I explained to thee its sacrifices, that the children of Israel should remember and should celebrate it throughout their generations in this month, 1 day in every year. And on the new moon, out of the month of the first month, and on the new moon of the 4th month, and on the new moon of the 7th month, and on the new moon of the 10th month are the days of remembrance, and the days of the seasons, and the 4 divisions of the year. These are written and ordained as a testimony forever. And Noah ordained them for himself as feasts for the generations forever, so that they have become thereby memorial unto him. And on the new moon of the 1st month, he was bidden to make himself an ark. And on that day, the earth became dry, and he opened the ark and saw the earth. And on the new moon of the 4th month of the mouse of the depths of the abyss beneath were closed. And on the new moon of the 7th month, all the mouths of the abysses of the earth were open, and the waters began to descend into them. And on the new moon of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were seen, and Noah was glad. On this account, he ordained himself as feasts for a memorial forever, and thus they ordained. And they placed them on the heavenly tablets. Each had 13 weeks from one to another past their memorial, from the first to the second, and from the second to the third, and from the third to the fourth, in all. The days of the commandment will be 52 weeks of days, and these will make the entire year complete. Thus it is engraven and ordained on the heavenly tablets. And there is no neglecting this commandment for a single year from 1 year to year. And command thou the children of Israel that they observe the years according to this reckoning 364 days. Pay attention to this. And these will constitute a complete year. So a year is 364 days. And they will not disturb its time from its days and from its feast, for everything will fall out in them according to their testimony. And they will not leave out any day nor disturb any feast. But if they do neglect and do not observe them according to this commandment, they will disturb all their seasons, and all the years, and the seasons and the years will be dislodged from this order. And they will disturb the seasons and the years will be dislodged, and they will neglect their ordinances, and all the children of Israel will forget and will not find the path of the years, and will forget the new moons, end of the months, and seasons and Sabbaths, and they will go wrong as to all the order of the years. For I know, and from henceforth will I declare it unto thee, and it's not of my own devising, for the book written before me, and on the heavenly tablets for the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feast of the covenant, and walk according to the feast of the Gentiles, after their error and after their ignorance. For there will be those who will surely make observations of the moon, how it disturbs the seasons. Hang on, I just lost my place. Hang on. Okay. Disturbs seasons and comes in. I'm sorry about that. And from year to year, 10 days too soon, For this reason, the years will come upon them when they will disturb the order and make an abominable day, the day of testimony, and an unclean day, a feast day, and they will confound all the days, the holy with the unclean, and the unclean day with the holy, for they will go wrong as to the months and the Sabbaths and feasts and jubilees. For this reason I command and testify to thee that thou mayest testify to them, for after thy death thy children will disturb them, so that they will not make the year 364 days only. And for this reason they will go wrong as to the new moons and seasons and Sabbaths and festivals, and they will eat all kinds of blood with all kinds of flesh. And in the 7th week in the 1st year thereof, in this jubilee, Noah planted vines on the mountain on which the ark had rested, named Lubar, on of the Ararat mountains, and they produced fruit in the 4th year. And he guarded their fruit and gathered it in this year in the 7th month, and he made wine therefrom and put it into a vessel and kept it until the 5th year, until the 1st day on the new moon of the 1st month. And he celebrated with joy the day of this feast, and he made a burnt sacrifice unto Yahuwah, 1 young ox, 1 ram, 7 sheep, each a year old, and a kid of the goats, that he might make atonement thereby for himself and his sons. And he prepared the kid first and placed some of its blood on the flesh that was on the altar which he had made, and all the fat he laid on the altar where he had made the burnt sacrifice, and the ox and the ram and the sheep, and he laid all their flesh upon the altar, and he placed all their offerings mingled with oil upon it, and afterwards he sprinkled wine on the fire which he had previously made on the altar, and he placed incense on the altar and caused a sweet savor to ascend acceptable before Yahuwah his Elohim. And he rejoiced and drank of this wine, he and his children, with joy. And it was evening, and he went out into his tent, and being drunken, he lay down and slept, and he was uncovered in his tent. We've heard this part before. Uncovered in his tent, and as he slept, and Ham saw Noah his father naked, and went forth and told his 2 brethren without. And Shem took his garment and arose, and he and Japheth, and they placed the garment on their shoulders and went backward and covered the shame of their father. And their faces, so they didn't look upon it, and their faces were backward. And Noah awoke from his sleep and knew all that his younger son had done unto him. And he cursed his son and said, Cursed be Canaan, and enslaved servant shall he be unto his brethren. And he blessed Shem and said, Blessed be the Yahuwah Elohim of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. Elohim shall enlarge Japheth, and Elohim shall dwell in the dwelling of Shem. Canaan shall be his servant. And Ham knew that his father had cursed his younger son, and he was displeased that he had cursed his son, and he parted from his father. He had his sons with him, Cush, Mizraim, and Put in Canaan, and he built for himself a city and called its name after the name of his wife, Nilatumamek. I cannot pronounce that. I apologize. And Japheth saw it and became Adidatanesi sees, something like that. Can't pronounce it. And Shem dwelt with his father Noah, and he built a city close to his father on the mountain, and he too called his name after the name of his wife. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that one. Seda Queda Labab. And behold, these 3 cities are near Mount Labar. Seda Queda, fronting his wife, fronting the mountain on its east, and Nael Tumelech on the south, Adataneses towards the west. And these were the sons of Shem, Elam, and Asher. Arphaxad son was born 2 years after the flood in Lud and Aram, the sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Yavan, Tubal, and Mezek, and Tyrez. These are the sons of Noah. And in the 28th Jubilee, Noah began to enjoin upon his sons, the ordinances and commandments and all the judgments that he knew, and he exhorted his sons to observe righteousness and to cover the shame of their flesh and to bless their Creator and honor father and mother and love their neighbor and guard their souls from fornication and uncleanness and all iniquity. For owing to these three things come the flood upon the earth, namely owing to the fornication wherein the watchers against the law of their ordinances went whoring after the daughters of men and took themselves wives of all which they chose. So he's saying this is partly why he flooded the earth, is because the watchers and their and the iniquity that come from it. This was the greatest reason why. This is why they don't want us to have this book. Because they still worship the fallen angels today, if you didn't know that. And they made the beginning of uncleanness, and they begat sons of Nephilim, and they were all alike, and they devoured one another. And the giants slew Nephil, and the Nephil slew the Elio, and Elio mankind, and one man another, and every one sold himself to work iniquity and to shed much blood, and the earth was filled with iniquity. And after this they sinned against the beasts and the birds, and all that moves and walks on the earth, and much blood was shed on the earth, and every imagination and desire of men imagine vanity and evil continually. This is why he destroyed it, he's telling us. And it also talks about this more in Enoch. And Yahuwah destroyed everything from off the face of the earth because of the wickedness of their deeds and because of the blood which they had shed in the midst of the earth. He destroyed everything. And we were left, I and you, my sons. Man. Okay, see, I barely touch a mouse and it goes flying up. I and you, my sons, and everything that entered with us into the ark, and behold, I will see your works before me, that ye do not walk in righteousness, for in the path of destruction ye have begun to walk, and you are parting from one another, and you are envious of one another. And so it comes that you are not in harmony, my sons, each with his brother. For I see, and behold, the demons have begun their seductions against you and against your children. And now I have fear on your behalf, that after my death you will shed the blood of men upon the earth, and that ye too will be destroyed from the face of the earth. For whoso sheddeth man's blood, and whoso eateth the blood of any flesh, shall all be destroyed from the earth. And there shall not be left any man that eateth blood, or that sheddeth the blood of man on the earth, nor shall there be left to him any seed or descendants living under heaven. For into Sheol shall they go, and into the place of condemnation shall they descend, and into the darkness of the deep shall they all be removed by violent death. There shall be no blood seen upon you. Of all the blood there shall be of the days in which ye have killed any beast or cattle or whatever flies upon the earth, and work ye a good work to your souls by covering that which has been, there's that word work, been shed on the face of the earth, and ye shall not be like him who eats with blood. But guard yourselves, that none may eat blood before you. Cover the blood, for thus I have been commanded to testify to you and your children together with all flesh, and suffer not soul to be eaten with flesh, that your blood, which is your life, may not be required at the hand of any flesh that sheds it on the earth. For the earth will not be clean from the blood which has been shed upon it, for only through the blood of him that shed it will the earth be purified throughout all its generations. And now, my children, hearken. Work judgment and righteousness, that ye may... Now listen to this right here. Work judgment, righteous judgment, and righteousness, that ye may be planted in righteousness over the face of the whole earth, and your glory lifted up before my Elohim, who saved me from the waters of the flood. And behold, you will go and build for yourself cities, and plant in them all the plants that are upon the earth, and moreover all fruit-bearing trees. For 3 years, the fruit of everything that is eaten will not be gathered, and in the 4th years it will be accounted holy, and they will offer the first fruits accepted before the Most High Elohim, who created heaven and earth and all things. Let them offer in abundance the first of the wine and oil as first fruits on the altar of the Lord of Yahuwah, who receives it. And what is left? Let the servants of the house of Yahuwah eat before the altar which receives it. And in the fifth year make ye the release, so that you release it in righteousness and uprightness, and ye shall be righteous, and all that you plant shall prosper. For thus did Enoch, the father of your father, command Methuselah his son, and Methuselah his son Lamech, and Lamech commanded me all things which his father commanded him. And I also will give you commandment, my sons, as Enoch commanded his son in the first jubilees. Whilst still living, the 7th in his generation, he commanded and testified to his son and to his son's sons until the day of his death. That's something I got to study later with somebody. Let me mark that 739. I got to go back over that. And mark that down, Pete. I want to talk to you about that. In the 29th Jubilee, in the first week, in the beginning thereof, Arphaxad took to himself a wife. Actually, guys, you know what? I'm going to pause it right there. That's a lot to swallow right there. And we're going to continue tomorrow in chapter 8 of Jubilees. Tomorrow evening, hopefully we get some more people joining this thing. Start sharing this. Let people know. We need to, you need to at least know, heard about Jubilees, and you need to know it. You need to study this. It gives us more details. But anyways, guys, I'm sweating like a stuffed pig in here. I gotta turn the air conditioner on and do something, but I'm burning. I'm literally sweating alive. Guys, I enjoy doing these studies, especially studies that not many people have done before. It's always interesting. Things that I've been studying is the first and second resurrection. The first century early writings. Stuff like that not many people talk about. And it always makes for very, very interesting conversations. But anyways, guys, I love y'all. Thanks for fellowshipping here and studying. And I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow morning for the regular Leviticus. Tomorrow afternoonish, early afternoon for the Leviticus study. As we're getting to the end part of that book. But always remember, guys, that the truth will set you free. Shalom.